So hello, everybody. I am Jenna. I'm the co-founder of Slipstream AI, and I'm joined by Diana Freeman, who is the founder of Cassiopeia Cycling. Diana, thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
So let's start with the basics. What is Cassiopeia Cycling?
So Cassiopeia is a female-forward cycling apparel boutique. We're also a cafe, and then we're building the first of its kind velo spa. So think wellness for you and your bike. So I like to recover. I'm really good at recovering after doing a hard ride. So yeah, we want to make sure we're doing that for our bikes as well.
Awesome. And so let's take a step back and learn a little bit more about you. I understand that you have kind of a unique journey into cycling. What is your background? Where did you work? And kind of how did you get into cycling, into the cycling world?
Yeah, so most of my career was in the consumer packaged goods. I worked for the Coca-Cola company for about 10 years. That took me from Atlanta to Houston and then finally to Bentonville, Arkansas, which is a big cycling community. And through that process, I was very, like a lot of, I think other, I'm what do they call us? Oregon Trail generation. I'm like on the cusp between millennials and Gen X. And it's just really heads down, like focus on my career. Let's see how fast and how far I can go. And from that, I had a great career, but also wasn't really taking care of myself and ended up technically morbidly obese. And I finally got to the point when I lived in Houston where I just decided like enough was enough. And I really wanted to reset my life. And that kind of coincided with me having weight loss surgery to give me like more tools in the tool chest to really fight my battle with my weight. And the pandemic hit. So I moved to Bentonville. I'm like in this massive weight loss journey. I think as everybody was, you just start reprioritizing what's important in life. And I realized like how much I'd like over indexed on the professional side and wasn't really taking care of myself. And then I was also in this beautiful community that was super active. So I had tons of inertia that just got me to get my first bike. And so I started riding, and then it's just so fun. It's addictive, and you just ride more and more. And then I started seeing like, wow, like I might be able to be fit. I can call myself an athlete. Like all these things I didn't think that I could call myself before. I suddenly was like accepting that I could take on those labels. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. I wish I hadn't waited so long. One of the things I love about cycling is it's massively inclusive, whether you have mobility issues or you're older or younger, or you're just have your like commuter bike. There's a way for people to ride their bike, regardless of your size, shape, color. And I took that for granted. I thought it was like that's something that like super fit people do. And I wish I hadn't waited so long. Riding
Yeah.
bikes is fun.
So you mentioned that cycling is massively inclusive, and I totally agree with you in that. But what kind of work still needs to be done in the cycling community to make it even more inclusive, to make sure that everyone feels like they belong?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has the foundation, the mechanics to be inclusive, right? There's a way for everybody to ride, no matter how you want to ride. I think where we start to not be as inclusive is, we have a lot of expectations and kind of inside speak and rules, and I call it like inside baseball, talk. And as I'm still like a relatively new cyclist. It's 2024 and I started riding in late 2020, early 2021. And my experience was, on the one hand, like kind of patronizing from people. Like I would show up and people are explaining stuff to me that it's kind of condescending, I understand. And then on the other side, like very intimidating because, you show up and as a female, like the ride's really big, it's all men. And, there are really cool pockets of things that are happening for, underrepresented populations, but it's as simple as just giving us a place to build community with each other. And nobody likes to feel like they're the odd one out.
Yeah, for
One
sure.
of the things, I think about in inclusivity is it still feels like the industry, it just leads with men, right? Men are 70% of the market. And that's great, but there's 30% of the market that we're not addressing, we're not thinking about them first. And that 30% of the market, I mean, you could grow 10%, you're 70%, you're like pretty high saturated. Like, let's grow the 30%. We could double or triple that. And so I really just want to bring people in. Sometimes brands, like their men's apparel will say small. Their women's apparel will say women's small. These small like whispers actually scream really loudly that men are the default. And I hope like I can start to change some of those things and be a hub and a voice, for women cyclists, like back into our brands, to start changing some of those things beyond just fundamentally, I want to build community.
Absolutely. Yeah, what you said about like showing up to a group ride that's like mostly men. I mean, I feel like I've been biking for like 20 years at this point, and I still feel very intimidated on some of those group rides. And I have all these questions coming up of, can I keep up? Is this going to be like a machismo experience where people are going to try to overtake each other? So I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of rides that call themselves a social ride, and then you have, two guys at the front that their ego gets in the way, and suddenly they're, racing, and they're just pulling everybody along. And, you take something was supposed to be really fun, and now, and it only takes one bad experience for somebody showing up on a ride and that to be their experience. And then it's usually cyclists that are newer that maybe, have more questions, and they're the ones that end up getting dropped or left. It's like, those are the ones we should be making sure that we're taking care of, that they know how to stay in the group and hide from the wind. And like, there are ways you can keep up, but if you don't know, if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have somebody helping you navigate those things on a group ride, then you're off the back, and suddenly you thought you were having a social experiment. And now you're 30 miles out and riding in the wind by yourself. It's not fun.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So back to Cassiopeia Cycling. So in what ways does Cassiopeia plan to lower cycling's barriers to entry, especially for women?
I mean, it seems really simple, but we just need a place to go and gather and create community, and have a sales associate who is a woman who can talk to you about what type of riding do you do, or, oh man, you're having like this issue with discomfort. Like, here's a really good, are you wearing bibs? Like, let's talk about bibs and why that's helpful. And, the average bike shop you go into is going to have a 20-year-old bro who's like super into like the technical aspect and riding really fast. And, that's not really the person that I want to talk to about my anatomy and how like that, like, kit, bike, body connection and what that feels like. So, for me, just like, it's as simple as like giving us a place to shop and having the assortment. Most places don't even carry women's, or they carry very little. So we're going to start with the basics.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you mention there's some type of bib bar that you're working on?
Yeah. So, I like to think about like, okay, what is our shopping experience as women? Like, what are we used to? And, I think about when when you're trying to buy like these core pieces of apparel in your wardrobe, you know, the things I think about are like the bra that you wear every day or your favorite pair of jeans, right? That decision is super important. Fit is important. And, you know, if you go and shop those, you know, garments, they're usually, you have choice, you have side-by-side comparisons, you can understand like, okay, this one fits this way and that one fits that way. So we wanted to take kind of those best practices that we see in, you know, women's apparel and shopping experience and bring it into cycling. And so for us, it's the little black bib bar. So we think like every woman should have, you know, just like you have your LBD, you know, for your little black dress, you know, you should have your perfect pair of little black bibs in your wardrobe. And that would be my recommendation for anybody, as like that first piece, and really invest in that first piece. And so we want to make sure that we're setting up all of our different brands and styles so that people can see them side by side and understand the trade-offs. You know, most of us as women have been relegated to only shopping online. And I mean, shopping online is still, you know, going to be part of our experience, but being able to come in and touch and feel and see, hey, this bib, you know, the waist is higher, you know, and I can see that side by side versus, you know, having to spend a couple $1,000s on multiple pairs of cycling bibs to order them in and then just go through the return process once you figure out what you like. So that's really like going to be a key feature for us in helping educate and, you know, explore what the right fit is for each of our customers.
Awesome. I can't wait to come in and try on a bunch of bibs to find that perfect.
Yeah.
And then I'd love it if you could talk a little bit more about the Velo Spa. I did peek in your space probably a couple weeks ago, and I saw some massage lounge chairs in there. So that looks pretty spa-like. But yeah, what is the Velo Spa and what kind of components are there?
Yeah, so our Velo Spa is really that like wellness for you and your bike. So we're super lucky in Boulder, even though it's, you know, winter and we get snow, it, right, you know, it washes away. But I mean, I like to ride through the winter, you know, it's sunny and beautiful. And if you have the right apparel, it's super easy to ride through the winter. But our bikes get dirty, you know, we're out, like gravel has become so popular and it's so fun to be able to explore, you know, different parts of our local community that we don't do on, you know, our normal roads. And yeah, we need to take care of our bikes. And, you know, in Boulder in particular, a lot of us live in apartments that don't have garages and, you know, we don't have a good way to, yes, exactly. You know, so I think like just, we're going to ride faster. Our bikes are going to operate better if we keep them clean. Aside from, I like a clean bike because I think my bike is pretty. I want to keep it looking nice. So I don't want to hose it off outside in the cold. So we've built an indoor heated bike wash that our customers will be able to tap into, keep their bike super clean. And then on the other side of that is like, let's make sure we're taking care of ourselves. And when I started to think about what's my dream space for a female cyclist, the thing that came to mind is that women are not small men. Like we have different nutritional needs and recovery needs, and even our recovery window is a lot shorter than men's. That's, you know, we need our protein faster. We need to do those recovery activities, you know, 30 to 45 minutes after a hard effort, whereas men may have 60 minutes, you know, to 90 minutes. So I wanted to like, how do we bring those recovery efforts and that nutritional need like closer to the end of the ride? So that's why we built a recovery lounge. And on the cafe side, we're going to have like, you know, nutrition forward recovery menu items. So when you get back from your ride, you're going to be able to have that recovery smoothie and be replenishing those good carbs, get the protein that you need, but then also pop into a zero gravity massage chair and get your blood flowing and, you know, getting that, you know, healing and rebuilding of your muscles, you know, started and back in process. And we're going to have like a lot of different things. The zero gravity massage chairs are definitely cool. The staff is enjoying testing them out at our our temporary space right now for sure. So am I.
I can imagine. That all sounds so cool. And it's clear that Cassiopeia Cycling is going to be such a community-oriented space. I'll certainly be there after my rides. So when is it opening? When can we plan on going? How is that all going right now?
Well, we definitely love to invite you and all your friends and everybody to our grand opening, which is on August 25th. And so we are 5 or 6 weeks out. Sometimes I don't like to count.
Right.
And yeah, we're gonna have a really big block party where all of our brands are gonna be here. So there's a lot of brands that people haven't been able to touch and feel. I'm wearing Wild Ride today, which is like super exciting that we're able to partner with some women specific other female founders. That's really core to our mission to prioritize women from both a customer perspective and assortment, but then also in our brand partners as well. Yeah, it's going to be super fun. People will be able to win prizes and opportunity to come back and try out the Velo Spa. So definitely come out.
Oh, excellent. Well,
I think you can't come out because you're getting married, but
well, actually, it's the day after my wedding, so I actually might come to get in those spa chairs.
we'll reserve a spot for you for your
Yeah.
bridal bliss recovery.
Yes. There'll be a long night before, but very exciting. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, sharing more about your mission and Cassiopeia Cycling. I love what you are doing, and I can't wait for the grand opening.